So Triggernometry, it went viral. Sam Harris coming out with his Trump Derangement Syndrome, openly stating that he didn't care if Hunter Biden had dead kids in his closet. I'm going to go over the complete 10-minute clip here and just react to it and give you guys some perspective on it. If you haven't seen the clip, it's an opportunity for you to do so. Please thumb up the video and subscribe, hit the all notification bell if you get anything out of this. Here we go.
Again, it's analogous to having elected Alex Jones president of the United States. It's not a matter of his, like, I probably agree with half of his policies or more than half of his policies. It's not a matter of policy. It's a matter of having someone who's totally unfit to have power be given more power than any person in a generation.
I don't quite understand that, because Trump did a really good job in office absent COVID, which was sprung upon him, and then the Democratic governors shut down the economy and then tried to blame everything on Donald Trump. I don't understand if Sam agrees with his policies. If in 4 years you're riding this roller coaster that you think is suddenly going to go off the tracks, Sammy, and it doesn't go off on the tracks and everything is perfect, do you fear getting back on the perceived roller coaster again, or is it a little bit safer in actuality?
And he's unfit for, in every possible way. It's like, it's not that he's just got a few screws loose. Like, every screw is loose. Every screw that you would want totally cranked down is loose or non-existent in him. And so, yeah, so it's, I mean, that's my argument. It's like, so my argument is that it was appropriate for Twitter and the heads of big tech and the heads of journalistic organizations to feel that they were in the presence of something like a once-in-a-lifetime moral emergency, right?
Again, what's your evidence, Sam? Where are you able to state this horrific threat to humanity as a whole and to the United States that excuses this behavior?
Whereas this is not the same thing as not liking George Bush, you know, or not liking John McCain, or not liking Mitt Romney for their politics. This was, here's a guy who is capable of anything, right? He's not ideological, but he's a black hole of selfishness, right? He's just, and so there's no telling what he's going to do.
Yeah, there's no telling what he's going to do. That's why so many people out in the world respected and feared him, because he was able to take out Soleimani of Iran, the general, with the airstrike. He took that action the same way that they got the Abrahamic peace accords done, which everybody else, all the so-called experts, said was an impossibility. And yet he did it because he has an independent mind and is not beholden to the so-called experts that navigated our COVID response so horrendously by masking children, mandating vaccines that aren't proving to be terribly efficacious.
And we cannot afford to have 4 more years with this guy. Right, and so, so what should well-intentioned people do who have a lot of power in these various ways? You know, you're running the New York Times, you're running CNN, you're running Twitter. What should they conspire to do? But at the 11th hour, when who knows how this election is going to go, who knows what the capacity for, you know, disinformation at the last minute to tip the balance is.
We know the capacity for disinformation because it was done by the New York Times, by your side of the aisle, Sam, which I think you're about to say from what I remember of the short clip I saw previously.
Then what do you do with the Hunter Biden laptop story when we already know, we know how this played out in 2016 with the Hillary Clinton email, you know, press conference where Comey in an abundance of scrupulosity felt like he had to come before the cameras, I think 10 days out from the election, and say, you know, we're going to open up this investigation again because we've got Anthony Weiner's laptop. We could see, I mean, again, her failure to become president was overdetermined. She was an appallingly bad candidate. But in terms of just tracking the poll numbers, you could, like, that was the killing blow to her candidacy, right? That final moment. And this was a highly analogous situation. We're going to open up this laptop from hell, and the news cycle for who knows how long is going to be just conceivably just a nuclear bomb of an October surprise.
But it's true. That's the problem. It's true. It is an October surprise, and there's no doubt the release of the laptop was to make it such, but it's the truth. So you want to dismiss the truth, Sam.
And we're going to get 4 more years of Trump if we actually give this a fair hearing.
But Sam...
But you can't do that, Sam, surely. You've got to realise that you've got to be fair. And the thing that I want to
We're all equal before the law.
Yeah. And
aren't we?
And the other
This isn't the law. But
I know it's not the law. But
Yeah.
if you accept my supposition that this is the public square, then it is the law. It is. If it is the public square, then it is law. Now, you're arguing it's not the public square, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Right? That's fine.
Yeah,
Look, why don't we move on? Because I think we've done enough.
Yeah,
on Trump.
sure. Yeah,
He's
of
sucked
course.
up a lot of it.
He's got a
always
habit of
does.
doing that.
No, but I'll just say, just finally, I do, again,
They're giving him an out here. They're absolutely giving him an out, and he's going to go back and double down, is what it appears right now, going back into the muck from which they are trying to pull you out.
it's like a coin toss for me, the Hunter Biden laptop thing, because I do understand how corrosive it is for an institution like the New York Times to show obvious bias and inconsistency and dishonesty in how it's like they couldn't even frame it honestly. It's not like it's like the way I would frame it is, listen, I don't care what's in Hunter Biden's. I mean, Hunter Biden at that point, Hunter Biden literally could have had the corpses of children in his basement. I would not have cared, right? It's like there's nothing. First of all, it's Hunter Biden, right? It's not Joe Biden. But even if whatever scope of Joe Biden's corruption is, like if we could just go down that rabbit hole endlessly and understand that he's getting kickbacks from Hunter Biden's deals in Ukraine or wherever else, right? Or China, it is infinitesimal compared to the corruption we know Trump is involved in. It's like a firefly to the sun, right? I mean, like there's just it doesn't even stack up against Trump University, right? Trump University as a story is worse than anything that could be in Hunter Biden's laptop.
Okay, right here you have the ultimate case of Trump derangement syndrome. Trump, let's just assume that Trump University is everything that Sam Harris is applying that it is a fake university set up to rob people of their money. How does that compare to the president of the United States getting kickbacks from foreign adversaries and possibly being beholden to their interests in order to gain economically? I don't understand. One is cheating, maybe some people out of some money, bilking them, not a good thing. The other is treason. And you want to compare these two? You're right, Sam. It is a firefly compared to the sun, except that they're inverted.
In my view, right? Now that doesn't answer the people who say it's still completely unfair to not have looked at the laptop in a timely way and to have shut down the New York Post's Twitter account. Like that's a left-wing conspiracy to deny the presidency to Donald Trump. Absolutely it was. Absolutely.
Okay, so we admit it was a left-wing conspiracy. So what are we going to do? Are we going to assume that you're not going to do that again in the future? Let's just excuse that. You figured out that you can retain power by corrupting the institutions of the United States, by lying to the public. And you're not going to do that again? I assume, suddenly you got scruples and morals when you exhibited none here.
Right, but I think it was warranted. Right, and again, it's a coin toss as to whether or not
Sam, I'm sorry.
That particular piece.
I'm really sorry. I was the one that said we should move on, but you've just said something I really struggle with there, which is
the kids in the basement.
Fuck the kids in the basement. I'm interested in democracy. You're saying you are content with a left-wing conspiracy to prevent somebody being democratically re-elected as president.
Well, no, I'm content. Well, but the thing is, it's just not left wing, right? So Liz Cheney is not left wing, right? Liz Cheney is
You're
doing
content with a
everything in her power.
conspiracy to prevent somebody being
but
democratically
it's not
elected.
but there's nothing conspiracy. It's not. It was a conspiracy.
He's tripping over his words here. Yes, he did say it was a conspiracy out in the open. That's why they pulled the wolves over so many people's eyes, tried to prevent them from seeing it, but you claim that it's out in the open?
Conspiracy out in the open. But it doesn't matter if it was. It doesn't matter what part's conspiracy, what part's out in the open. I mean, I think it's like if people get together and talk about what should we do about this phenomenon. You know, if it's like if there was an asteroid hurtling toward Earth, and we got in a room together with all of our friends and had a conversation about what we could do to deflect its course, right? Is that a conspiracy? You know, like some of that conversation would be in public, some of it would be in private.
You just said it was a conspiracy, Sam. Absolutely, it was a left-wing conspiracy. Now you're likening Trump to an asteroid headed towards Earth when for 4 years he did nothing but improve the lot of the United States and its citizens.
We have a massive problem. We have an existential threat, right? Politically speaking, I consider Trump an existential threat to our democracy, right? Now, he's not going to destroy the world, very likely.
If you destroy democracy in the process of protecting democracy...
No, but that doesn't destroy... No,
Yes, Sam, it destroys democracy. It destroys a fair, open, balanced election based on partisans who have such derangement syndrome for a man, once again, who I believe did the United States a tremendous amount of good. And I didn't even vote for him the first time, for the record. And you are conspiring to destroy democracy. There's no way ifs, ands, or buts around it, because the other side is now going to feel justified to do the same exact thing. It is completely corrosive, and you're encouraging it.
What I'm not suggesting, at no point was I suggesting we should stuff ballots or actually break the machinery of democracy. But
hold on a second. I have a sincere question here. If Trump is an asteroid headed towards Earth, then you would do anything to stop that asteroid. So why wouldn't you, in an effort to prevent this asteroid from getting re-elected, wouldn't you stuff ballots and commit FRAUD for Google censors? Why wouldn't you do that? You're preventing the asteroid from striking the Earth. That's the next question I hope they ask.
Political opinion is already being just completely inundated with misinformation, biased takes, half-truths, and outright lies, right? Like, or just the amplification of bad or misleading information based on, you know, the algorithm, right? So it's already just an abattoir of opinion, right? And now the question is, you know, what can you do with your own biases and your own to get the outcome you think is actually better, not just for yourself personally, but for the world, right? So like I'm completely unconflicted in the claim that a first Trump term was bad and a second Trump term would be bad.
Sorry, Sam, what was so bad about the first Trump term if you agreed with most of his policies, but just thought he was a selfish person who might be corrupt? We actually know for a fact that Joe Biden's corrupt. What do you point to? Trump University? So that makes the first Trump term bad, despite the fact that you agreed with his policies?
And it literally doesn't matter what else was on the menu. Like literally, pick a random American better than Trump in the Oval Office. Like the likelihood that you're going to get someone who's worse than Trump, given what I consider is bad about Trump, is, I mean, it's on the order of 1 in a million, right? Like you're not going to get worse than Trump if you pick at random.
Imagine the average person trying to negotiate the accords that led to Middle East peace. Would the average person have taken out Soleimani, who was an Iranian terrorist who killed many, many, many Americans? Would the average person have kept Ukraine and Russia from war? I guess Joe Biden might be that 1 in a million person, Sammy.
And, you know, Hillary Clinton, for all of her flaws, was not worse than Trump. Joe Biden, we could have known Joe Biden was going to just be comatose in office, not worse than Trump, right? Kamala Harris not worth like it's all and again, it's not just a marginal call. It's just these are people who are normal politicians who are so much more constrained by predictable machinery, right? There's such less of an opportunity there to destroy institutions that we have to rely on.
You have destroyed the FBI with their partisanship, the New York Times, the Washington Post. You just admitted that the framing of the New York Times was malicious and one-sided. You have destroyed many people's faith with the elections, regardless of whether or not it's been proven that there was any type of fraud, which obviously has not been taken place. YouTube censors once again. I don't understand. You are in favor of the destructions of the institutions in order to keep out Donald Trump because you've got Trump Derangement Syndrome.
Right. If, with any of those people in charge, including a random person in charge, a random person who's going to be terrified at the responsibility of the office and default to expert opinion, across the board. No, Trump is an Alex Jones level figure for me. And so, it's analogous, like a smaller problem is to just for some billionaire to buy the New York Times and give it to Alex Jones to run, right? That would be that would be a catastrophic loss and mistake, but that's a smaller problem than getting Trump reelected.
Yeah. Okay, Sam, it's worse. Giving Alex Jones the New York Times would actually increase the quality of the newspaper, as far as I'm concerned. They recently insinuated that Trump had documents related to CIA informants and that he might have been giving out such information to foreign adversaries, which is why we've lost informants around the world, according to CIA papers. This is, if untrue, is potential treason because you're accusing an ex-president of treason. This is the state of the New York Times. This is the state of people like you. The truth stands. If everybody spoke true, then the world would be a far superior place. It's a principle that we should all stand by. Truth. And Sam Harris here exhibits very little of it, except the fact that he admitted that it was a left-wing conspiracy. And don't think that other people aren't going to be motivated to pay this back in kind, which is very unfortunate for the United States.